So this is an AstroZap. It is both a dew shield, kind of a passive extension dew shield, and an actively heated 12-volt heater around this part here. And it's powered with this little plug here, which is really just an RCA plug. And so I've found an RCA plug here because I want to adapt that to my 12-volt supply, which takes this barrel connector. AstroZap will sell you a device that connects between this and like a car cigarette plug lighter, but my power supply is going to be different. It's going to be one of these guys. The advantage of this plug for me is that on this box here, I can plug it into 12 volts if I want full power, or I can plug it into the 8-volt supply if I want a lower power mode. So it's not a full, pulse width modulation power supply controller. You can buy those from AstroZap too for hundreds of dollars. But it gives me kind of high and low control ability on this guy. All right, we have this AstroZap heated dew shield, which plugs into kind of an RCA style connector here, which I've connected up to this barrel connector. And we're going to use that barrel connector on this small rig battery sack. And so this guy has both 8 volt and 12 volt out. So we're going to start off at 8 volt just to see what type of watt draw it does. At the 8 volt level, this guy is only drawing 6 watts, so that's a very low kind of maintenance amount of heating. Now I'm going to try the 12 volts plug. And this guy is rated at 12 volts, so that should be a lot higher. So yeah, now it's drawing 12 watts at 12 volts. So according to the estimate from this little battery pack, this battery pack could run this guy for 6.5 hours. I'm going to let it sit for a while to let it warm up at 12 volts. Alright, the specifications for this AstroZap 12-inch heated dew shield say it draws 21 watts at 12 volt level. Now I am providing it at exactly 12 volts, and its watt draw is 11.9 watts. So I believe they may be rating this at kind of a car battery alternator 12 volt level, which is like 13 or 14 volts. But the actual battery pack is providing 12.0 volts, and it's only drawing 11.9 watts. Now it might be it's kind of warm in my garage, so it might be if it was colder outside, this guy would draw more power and is trying to maintain a particular heat setting. But currently it's only drawing 12 watts, and so it will run on this little battery pack. The estimate here is 6.4 hours on this battery pack. Now if I move it over from the 12 volt plug to the 8 volt plug, that draw drops down to like 6 watts, and it's going to go for like 13 hours. So I don't know if 6 watts is at all enough heating for my telescope. I think I'd much prefer 12 watts than 6 watts. But I'm not getting the full 21 rated watts out of this, at least in the warm testing conditions I have right now. So one thing I don't like about these RCA jack style power connectors for the dew heater is that, there's an exposed connection right there. And I realize it's only 12 volts and the other side is, inside. But I am going to take this heat shrink tubing, I'm going to stick it up like this, and I'm going to try real hard to only shrink it to the bottom connector. Alright, that worked pretty well. I was able to heat the bottom of this heat shrink tubing, so it glued itself to the bottom of this connector here, and so it acts as a sheath over the connection when I make the connection, yet it's not keeping the connection connected all the time. Alright, this AstroZap heated dew shield has been running for probably 5 minutes, and you can definitely tell where the heater is on this guy. So it's a continuous strip that goes all the way around, and you can see the wire goes in there. Now up here it comes all the way to the end, so it's pretty well evenly distributing the heat all the way around that thing. You can also see the wire coming out of it. The wire has just a little bit of resistance and it's heating up. So here is the connection from their wire to my wire, and you can see where my RCA jack wire is hotter than the power wire there. So obviously that power wire has less resistance than the RCA jack wire. Now I'd be worried about that a little bit, except the AstroZap wire, that is almost as much resistance as my wire for the RCA jack, so it looks like they're using the same RCA jack cable as I am. And so it's good enough for them. I figure it's good enough for me, although obviously they could have used thicker wire and had something like this where, you know, there's very little resistance. You can also see my battery pack over there powering the thing. So it looks like it's providing heat. It's pretty even heat. Temperature here is 90 some degrees, so it's not like super hot, but pretty reasonable. All right, here's my telescope set up on the thermal camera. You can see the patio is quite warm from the sun having hit it all day. And then here's the telescope. So you can definitely see right up there is the ring of heat. Now the rest of the telescope looks to be mostly about the same temperature. You can ignore the legs here. They're just reflecting ambient temperature, so you can kind of ignore the giant blue spot on the legs. It's reflecting from the sky. But basically the telescope is mostly about the same temperature as things like the house and the trees around. The dew shield is a little bit cooler except for the ring up there. I'm going to turn the telescope down so we can look inside. All right, here we can see end arm of the telescope. So kind of looking inside the optical tube here, and there's definitely a ring of heat around this guy. You can see myself, I'm reflected in the glass there. So I can wave at you, that's just my reflection there. So all I can say for sure is I don't have any dew in here. I can't really read the temperature of the glass because the glass doesn't show up on the thermal camera, but the ring of metal around it is definitely warmer than ambient. Now looking in here, we can see my various battery packs. So this is the battery pack that is powering the dew heater. Let's trace that wire around. You can see that wire skews around a few places. So that's the little wire there that is powering the dew heater. So here's an optical view of the inside of my optical tube. Ignore my ring light. So it seems to be doing a job of keeping dew off of this guy. Alright, I've been using the heated dew shield out here for 2 hours. I've been powering it off of this NP-F 970 battery here, and I have 3 of the 4 dots on the battery, and 2 of the 3 green dots are in the little battery backplate. So it looks like I could go for 6 or 8 hours off of one of these batteries.